Hey guys, and welcome to What's in the Frame, right? The podcast for photographers and creatives in Eastern Washington, where we talk about life, business, creativity, and of course, photography, right? So my name is Joel Nunn-Sparks. I am one of the co-hosts of this podcast. I'm going to let everyone else introduce themselves, and then we will go from there.
Hi guys, my name is Ray Càstañeda. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And I'm Madison Rosenbaum, and I'm so excited to be here chatting with two of my great friends.
Well,
All right.
So, hey guys, while we're on that same boat, do we want to just kind of explain who we are, kind of what we do, how long we've been doing it?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about why we're doing this.
Let's start with you, Ray.
Okay.
Yeah. What type of photography do you do, man? And kind of where'd you grow up?
You know what? I'm still figuring that out. I think I've been I started doing photography when I was a kid, when I was in high school. I remember when I couldn't wait to take photography class here at Kennewick High, my alma mater. I think that it was something like you had to wait to be a sophomore or a junior. Yeah, you had to wait to be a junior to take photography for whatever reason.
Wow.
And I couldn't wait. But so when I finally got the chance to do it, I was all in. I was really into it. They let us have these old Pentax SLR film cameras that were full manual. There was nothing automatic about them. I don't even think they took batteries. They were just completely, outdated, even for then. But that's what I learned on, and I did that for a while. For the final 2 years of high school, I had a teacher who I was pretty fond of, or I became fond of. I was a TA for him also. Basically, I was trying to maximize the amount of time I could spend in the darkroom doing photography. And it was like some friends were in that class. It was like, I think it was kind of a popular class. Part of it was that you got to wander the halls. Did any of you guys take photography class at school, like in high school? Was that a thing that you had? Because I know they had it at other high schools.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to wander the halls for a whole class period instead of doing actual work. At least that's how I felt about it.
Yeah, man. So I didn't take photography in high school, but but I teach it, right? I teach photography in high school. But I think my students like that. They like to be able to leave the classroom and be like, "No, I'm gonna go take pictures," because half of them come back with no pictures.
Right. Yeah. We spent a lot of the time just messing around, just kind of walking around trying to wave to our other friends from like the window while they were actually in class doing work. But after high school, I kept taking photos for a little while, but right around then it got harder and harder to use film. It was like all of the places that I used to be able to take film to and go pick it up an hour later were closed. You had to like send away for film, and it was expensive, and you just couldn't find any of that stuff. So I put down photography for years and years. I moved on to other things. I started painting more, playing music for a while. I used to go around and play bars, play open mics and things like that, just doing like solo guitar and stuff. And so that took a ton of time. That was like my biggest focus. And I've sort of done that a bunch, which I like that. I think that's pretty cool. So it took me a long time to make it back around to photography. But the aforementioned teacher was part of what spurned it, because I thought about him. I thought, gosh, I wonder what he's doing. I haven't talked to him in many years. I know that he had some problems with his health, even back when I was still in school. So I looked him up one day, and I learned then that he had been back home in the Midwest for some years and retired, and actually passed away like almost a year ago by now. It was in the spring of 2019. And that sort of, it wasn't, like super impactful. I'm not going to say that it it devastated me or anything. It's just I hadn't spoken to him in many years, and he was someone who I looked up to, who was something of a mentor. And I thought it would be a fun little way to do a tribute to him, to kind of, I remember talking about it with a couple of friends, and we just thought, oh, wow, Mr. Lupkus, like that. His name was Mr. Lupkus, Dennis Lupkus. And I decided to look into buying a digital camera, and I bought myself a little Canon. I still have it, my little white Canon SL2, fun little DSLR camera that also does video. I researched up and down to find the one that was like the right price. I think I paid like under $400 for it. Then I bought a bunch of other lenses and things, and I got that camera, and I started taking pictures all the time, every day. It was like it used to be back when I was taking pictures on film. And I back then I amassed just tons and tons, just thousands of negatives, tons and tons of photos. And I started doing the same thing. I still do that. I take my camera everywhere. I always have at least one with me. And I've just, really dove into it head first and haven't surfaced since then. But it's been a relatively short time. I think that when I bought the camera was like late June. I took a trip into the mountains. I did quite a bit of backpacking over the last couple of years. I took it with me for a trip onto the Pacific Crest Trail, and ended up taking some pictures that I was pretty proud of, that I really liked, and I shared, and people liked them.
Nice.
And that was the first thing that made me think about really taking photography seriously once again. Like I back when I was a kid and taking photo class, I thought, this is what I want to do. And it took many, many years to come back around and sort of feel that way again. And I'm always kind of, I don't know, it felt good to approach it as like a fresh start. It was the first time I'd ever shot digital, and there was a lot to learn. But to be honest, I mean, compared to what it was like to shoot full manual on film with no aid, no autofocus, none of that stuff. And it was kind of a dream to shoot digital. I like film. I like the way it looks. I think there might be a time. I still have all my old film equipment. One day maybe I'll drag it out and play with it again. But I am so into digital photography. It's crazy what you can do. I mean, just the Photoshop aspect of it, the post-production of it, it's wild. It used to be the only post-production you could really do was in the dark room. So pretty much everything you did, you had to shoot in camera. It's taken me a lot of learning to kind of learn how you don't need to do that, exclusive. You don't always need to try to get everything done in camera. Although I have a lot of respect to people who do it that way. But that's basically the story. That's brought me to now. What about you guys? Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. Madison.
Right on.
I'm like, Joel will go.
I
I just want to say, like, Ray is like the OG then, right? Like, he's got this like background in film, and I'm just like, oh, I've been shooting digital since I was like 3. Like, I don't.
Yeah, I bought a film camera maybe a couple years ago, but I used it once when I was in LA, and and the film is still in the camera. Like, I haven't got it developed. It's just chilling. There's like probably 5 more exposures that I'll probably go do, and then send it somewhere. But like, it's just chilling.
I'm not gonna lie. I miss it. I miss the dark room. I miss smelling the chemicals. I miss it was, even though it was a pain. I mean, let me tell you, the just the process of taking a roll of film out of your camera, and then I don't know if have you guys ever seen it done. Do you guys know what that process is? Basically, you have to
on YouTube.
Okay, you basically take I forgot what some of this stuff is called by now, but you take like a bag where you put your arms into only, and it has like elastic, so it's basically like light sealed, like light tight. Yeah, and then you basically have to work blind while your hands are in this bag. You put all your equipment in the bag first and zip it up, and then you have to take a roll of film. You have to take the film out of the canister, which is like a violent process. You have to basically like smash it to get it open. And then you take that film out of the canister, and then you have to carefully, methodically, like there's a real technique to it, because it's super difficult to learn. And basically you have to roll it, like spool it onto a reel that separates the film. It rolls it up, but also keeps like, a fraction of an inch of separation as it rolls it. So that the chemicals can get in there. And then that, once you've done that super laborious process, that goes into a canister. That canister has like a double lid system to keep it light tight and watertight, which is cool. And then that canister that the reel goes into is what you pour the chemicals into, and there's a whole process to shaking it.
Oh,
And
this sounds
it is laborious, and
but
that's before you can make a print. That's just to develop
yeah,
your
that's just to
film.
develop the
to
film.
make,
Respect.
yeah.
Respect.
So much
Like,
respect.
But it
one
was
day,
so fun. It really was. One day I'd like to do it again. And
one day I want to learn. One
I
day,
would love to teach
one
other
day.
people.
But digital is great right now for me.
Absolutely.
So for me, I have been technically taking photos for about 10 or 11 years. I always grew up kind of a creative guy. Never really with photography, though. I didn't take photography in high school or anything like that. I've always had video cameras near me. So I would always, and I still have videos on YouTube right now. Like, my family would always be mad at me for bringing the video cameras to the family functions and and recording my family, right? They would just be like, get the camera out of my face. And I'd be like, no, we need this 10 years from now. You know what I mean? So I was always that invasive guy taking picture or videos of family, which looking back now, those videos are still on YouTube and they're great. But I never really was into photography. So then I bought a DSLR, my first DSLR, Canon 7D in 2009. So I was 19 when I bought that for video because I'm like, I just want to do video with it, right? And then I realized that, oh, this camera, this DSLR actually does pictures. Like, that's what this is for? That's great. That's crazy. That's what
it
this
usually goes the other way. It goes from stills to video.
Exactly. It's usually the other way. So I'm like, oh, that's insane. So let me try to take pictures. So I started taking pictures, and my first photo was super cool as far as the white balance was way off, and it was super blue, and I didn't realize how bad it looked until like a month later. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So since then, I mean, now you can't get a camera out of my hands. I've been taking pictures since then, you know what I mean? And it's led me to some cool places, some cool, I've met a lot of cool people doing it. And I got my job, my profession, my career right now by taking pictures, which is I am a photography teacher. So I teach photography in a high school. So very grateful for what photography has taught me and the places that it's taken me and kind of all that. So yeah, there's a elevator speech of kind of what I've done, where I've been. So Madison, what about you?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was trying to rack my brain, like where does this story even begin? And I think I have to give it up to the age of MySpace, where you got your little tiny little camera and you're doing your selfies and you're trying to find that right angle. And I know that sounds so silly, like, well, everybody was doing that, but I think
we all did it. I know Ray probably did it too.
Oh, absolutely.
We were all there.
We were
all
on
there.
MySpace.
Me too. Top 8.
Yeah, that was like my introduction to the digital world in general. To, I mean, like, yeah, getting the perfect selfie, but often it was with, you know, sharing with a group of friends and learning the HTML and, you know, making this like totally beautiful space for people, assuming that they were on my page. I don't even know if people even came to my page.
I don't think anyone ever came to our MySpace pages. I think
we were all on our own.
I think it was
pages.
just us. Like, I don't think anyone ever came to.
But I think my love for photography was born there. I just didn't really realize it until I got into high school, and I think it was my senior year, and I took a photography class, and I was just like, yeah, I'm going to go take pictures of marbles outside. And you're like learning about bird's view and depth of field and composition and the rule of thirds. And I was like, this is amazing. But then when I got to college, that was fall of 2010, I kind of just was like still doing photography, but not really. Like, it was a thing, but I was there working on, I have 2 degrees, one in psychology and one in digital technology and culture. But wow. I started out as a psych major.
Nice. And
I couldn't find the classes I wanted to take. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll take this, like, I think it was some sort of art class. I can't even remember which one I took, but I just sat there in that class and I was like, what the heck? Like, why am I not doing this? Because it reminded me like how much I loved photography. So I started shooting again. My mom's husband ended up lending me his Rebel T3, I think it was. So I thought it was so cool going out with that like 18 to 35, like the stock lens. Yeah. And, you know, that's where it all begins. But I I think like halfway through my college career, like when I started taking more art classes, I got more serious about it. But what was crazy was like I struggled with it. I didn't know if that was something I really like belonged to. And I kind of owe it to a lot of my art professors and people on campus that saw something in me, because I was also doing graphic design for like student government and for the university. And I really owe it to them for seeing something in me before I even saw it in myself. Like the reason why I got to work on campus is because somebody in charge was like, hey, that girl, she's okay. Maybe we should hire her for something. And they kind of ignited that passion in me and kind of made me look in the mirror and be like, hey, you can do this. So I started taking photography more seriously in 2014. And, you know, by the beginning, I think it was spring of 2015, I ended up curating my first art show on campus. I was the first student and did a whole photo series, which actually ended up turning into my first book. So the Human After All series, and which was inspired out of Brandon Stanton's Humans of New York, because I love him so much. And I've met him and he's fantastic. And I gave him my book.
You've met Brandon?
Yes.
Really?
So if he's listening, I went and saw him a couple years in Seattle when he was speaking. Wow. And
Sick
I stood in line.
Madison.
Well, if I had known you, I would have totally invited you. But one of my friends, Kelsey and Ugo, because they lived up in Seattle, I was like, hey, I have to see this guy. So I think it was like a Wednesday or a Thursday. And I was like, I skipped work. I mean, I got work off. I didn't skip it. And I went up there and I left my book in the car. I left it because I was like, there's no way I'm going to meet him. Like, what? And so I was sitting in the audience, and then at the end, they're like, oh, okay, we're going to have like a book signing at the end. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So bless my friends. They like run to the car, which is like blocks away, to get my book. And I'm like standing in line, and then I come back because I'm like, I don't know what to expect in line. I hope I can like talk to him and give him my book. And they like pull out their phones. They're like, oh yeah, we got a selfie with him in the hallway when we were like leaving to go to the car.
Oh no.
I was so like, so jealous, but luckily like it ended up working out. You know, we got to the front of the line and I got a photo with him and I gave him my book. Like there's a photo of me like handing it off. And I was like, this is nuts. And I think at that point, like after meeting him, after hearing him talk about his creative process, I was like, this guy is my hero. Dude. This guy makes me feel like I can do this. I can keep going. And I think that moment, like, I mean, I know I had already published the book and that was great, but I think that moment meeting somebody like that, like just really solidified, like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. Like, I'm meant to be a photographer. I'm meant to be a storyteller. I'm meant to go out and share with the world crazy things. And even if it's just crazy to me or to the people I'm working with, but he just like really changed the game on storytelling in terms of photography. Like
so amazing. Like
he's so amazing. I have so much respect for him, and I try to take everything that he shares and all the stories that he has posted like into consideration when I'm working with people. So if he ever listens to this podcast, I hope he hears this, but
hopefully he does.
Yeah.
Hopefully he does. And hopefully sorry, I'm going to switch it really fast, Madison. Hopefully he listens to this one, but hopefully he sees how like you've been inspired by his work, right? Especially now that you mentioned Brandon, it's crazy because the project that you're working on right now really reminds me of kind of his work, but like at a crazier scale because we're in this COVID-19 situation right now. I'm going to ask you a question, right? Can we switch the script a little bit? And can you talk about your project that's so important right now? One, I believe it's super important for the times that we're in. Can you talk about that project? And then can you tell us a little bit of the news that you just received right before we started this this podcast recording?
Yeah. So I do have to, again, give props to Brandon because around the same time, you know, when the pandemic started and I had started my Tales from Home project, he was starting something similar where he was still interviewing people across the globe, but they were sending him stories and their own pictures. And it's not totally, his project isn't COVID focused like mine is, but it's been a joy to kind of read those as I develop this project. But Tales from Home is this photo project that I started, and it features individuals in various stages of isolation. And so when I say isolation, I don't necessarily mean that they have tested positive for COVID-19. It's just with all the stay home mandates, like what that has looked like for a lot of us, it does feel isolating. I feel like all of you guys can attest to that it's rough.
I'm sorry to interrupt. But maybe we should mention that today is the 1st of May when we're recording this.
Oh yeah,
we just got an announcement that we are going to be in quarantine for the next month at least. So I think maybe that's some good context.
That's a good. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we've been in the stay home mandate's been since
I was out of
19th.
Yeah, so as a teacher, my last day of school was March 13th. So the stay-at-home order, was a week before that, the big stay-at-home order. So yeah, it's been about, I think right now as May 1st, we're ending our 6th week of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
It's been a wild ride.
It's been a while.
It's also gone by fast, but also slow at the same time. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but when after the stay home mandate was issued, I was chatting with my friend Laura, and she lives in Chicago, and we were kind of comparing and contrasting the stay home mandates for our states. And she's a dental hygienist, and she ended up telling me, she's like, I entered dental hygiene because I really wanted to care for people, and that's what I'm passionate about. And I always thought that I would have a job. And the fact that I'm not working right now is so disappointing. Like, I feel, I don't know if she said guilty, but we kind of just talked about those feelings of like, we are people that care for other people. We wish we were out on the front lines too. And our professions don't allow us to do that at this time. And that story, I mean, it kind of just echoed what everybody else was going through or starting to go through. And I was like, shit, like, I think I need to start talking to people about where they are during isolation and get stories out of them. And so, but it was really hard. Like, I think I even reached out to you, Joel, when I first started the project and started forming it. I was like, I don't think I want to advertise this project because for people in the Tri-Cities, like, I'm going to their houses, but I'm photographing them through windows, through fences, or if they are out on their front porch, it's at least 6 feet to 10 feet of distance. And I'm shooting with my 85 millimeters, so it allows for that distance. But I was like, I don't know.
And there's always like a stigma. Yeah, exactly. There's like that stigma, especially right now, of why are you outside taking pictures? Why are you doing this when we should be?
Yeah. And I didn't want people to think like I wasn't taking the stay home mandate seriously, because I was. Like, I've been isolating. I'm not going out other than to do this project or to get groceries. I'm not hanging out with other people. But this was like, not a loophole, but it was an opportunity to be had, right? Like, I can interact with people safely, still be mindful of the laws that are in place, and just make art, which is all I want to do all the time. And because I'm not working, I was like, I got to take advantage of this. So I've been going to or communicating with people digitally, either through Facebook or video conferencing calls, chatting about their stories. I have a prompt that I send out to participants to think about 7 to 8 questions that will help be a catalyst for their story and how they want to capture their time through this project. And then once participants have a story prepared, then we set up a time to do their photo. So for Tri-Cities participants, that means me going to their yards and being a little creep in some ways. But then for those that are abroad, more distant participants, it means taking their photo over video conferencing or having them submit a photo and then I take it on my phone.
Yeah.
So it's been awesome to see. I mean, it was kind of slow at the beginning because people were kind of adjusting to what was happening. And it's still challenging in a lot of ways to get stories because everybody's in different mental states for this project. And that's totally okay. Like, I've had people say they were interested and then, they're like, oh, at this time, like, I don't have it in me. And I'm like, that is totally fine.
I think I told you that a couple times.
You did.
Because
And I feel bad because I'm like, I don't want to pester you. Like, I just want to check up on you.
And it's so weird because I think people, like you said, people have these different mental states. Like, at the beginning of this quarantine or this lockdown, stay-at-home order, I'm sorry, I was feeling good, I was like, let's do everything. Like, we have all this time, guys. Let's make this thing happen. Let's do everything that we can. And then your project came across, and I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I'm ready to go. And then a couple weeks in, I was like, man, I kept forgetting to get back to you because I was just not in the mental state to do anything. But I realized how important this project was and how, like, we have to kind of lean into that and be kind of open to it, because we are kind of putting a face to a time period for the history books, you know?
Absolutely. And I think like every day is a new challenge for our mental health. And I know both of you kind of voiced that, you know, one day you're feeling super great, and then the next day you're like, what am I doing? Why am I here? And, you know, and that's totally understandable, especially like with working with participants for this project. Like, some people have taken weeks to do it, and then some people took a matter of hours. And either way, like, I'm down with whatever, and whoever chooses to participate, great. Or if you're watching from afar and being supportive, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And so do the participants, because this is essentially all about them. It's about their stories, and they do majority of the work. They're writing their stories. They're coming up kind of with how they want their story to be captured. And I literally just show up with the camera, tell a couple awkward jokes, like my firecracker joke that I have to get people going and excited. And then, you know, less than 20 minutes and I'm out. And then in a matter of days that their story is being shared on the internet. So I'm really appreciative of people's time and willingness to participate. It's really humbling, actually. But
well, I think we all are pretty happy for you. We all feel like we heard the news with you, so we
Oh wait, what news? I don't think you said it, Madison.
Yeah, you have.
Oh,
what news, Madison?
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, I was featured as Artist of the Week through Seattle Refined, which is a publication that highlights all things art on the west side of the state. And then when we were prepping for this podcast, I got a notification from a friend, and they're like, oh my gosh, your project's going viral. And Seattle Refined had shared my project, Tales from Home, and then it was featured on Keeper. And then I guess now when I look at this email, it's going to be on King 5 Evening News with Kim Holcomb. And then also it's on the front page of Como News. Yeah. So I'm kind of like...
It's getting the traction that it deserves, is what I hear you saying.
It's starstruck. I'm a little starstruck.
Yeah.
But it's not about me. It's about, I just want to make that really clear. Like, there's 28 people that have currently shared their story. You know, Joel, you've been one of them. Ray, you really need to be part of the project. So we got to sit down and chat, buddy. But
we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Well, I should say that you have Madison has approached me about it, and the only this is so embarrassing.
No.
Just vanity. I've been in quarantine, and I've put on some pounds, and I have not shaved or trimmed, and I haven't had a haircut, and I know that's part of what we all should be okay with right now.
No, sir, because I wore my hat in my picture. I told her, I said, Madison, I wish I could take this hat off for this picture, but I can't, because you don't want to see what's happening under that. It's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Joel got away with somehow wearing a hat and not even showing his face in the photo.
I didn't even show my face. That is so true.
I don't think I'll allow that again.
We're gonna show the people the picture right now on the video. They're gonna see. I got away with it. You can get away with it, Ray.
No, okay, we'll talk. I want to say I don't. Yeah, that'll give me an opportunity to hear the firecracker joke, because I don't know what that is.
I know.
Oh, it's so lame. It's really meant as like a last resort to make people laugh, and then it comes with a joke before that. But okay, I probably should just say it. Like, when I'm working with participants, I'm like, okay, trying to get them to be comfortable and smile, and I'm like, you know, I only have one joke, so I don't want to have to use it. And then they uncomfortably laughed, and then they're like, oh no, tell me your joke. And I was like, no, that was it. But no, I'm just kidding.
See, it worked. Take our picture.
But the joke is, what kind of crackers do firefighters like in their soup? Firecrackers.
Okay. It's so funny. That's so funny.
It's funny because of how I deliver it. Like, every time
that
it's
too.
Stupid.
But you know what else is funny about that? You called it the firecracker joke. And then you told us a joke, and I still didn't get it. Like, until you had to say it again. And I was like, dang it.
I did, but I think I was just, I was hung up on the concept of firecrackers in soup and how terribly ill-advised that actually would be. Like, please don't put firecrackers in your soup because
there's
that would do a number on your teeth.
A Surgeon General's warning on the cereal box.
That's our PSA. Like, please don't do this.
Don't do this
in your photo shoot or anywhere else.
We know you're locked down, and we know there's nothing else to do.
Madison's going to have to say that now after the joke.
Yeah,
please don't take that advice. Please don't inject firecrackers.
But it works in like every shoot. That's what's crazy. So I love that joke. I love the precursor joke. But I don't even know what we were talking about before I like called Ray out awkwardly. But
the news. Just the news story and how cool that was.
Yeah, you were telling us about all the news.
Oh, yeah. That I've shared 28 stories so far, and every story is amazing in its own way, and every participant is pretty phenomenal. But the project's really about them. Like, I'm lucky I get to come along for the ride and bring my camera, but they do all of the work. Like, I don't have a project without awesome people. So thank you for everybody that keeps turning up and supporting the project. And thank you to both of you for like being my biggest fans when I found out the news. And I'm just like over here like, oh my God.
For sure. But also I think people, and if there's other photographers and stuff listening to this, which there will be, and creatives, I think it's a big thing for photographers because sometimes we don't get, and this might just be me, sometimes we don't get kind of the credit. Not that all the work that we do is about that, because I know we all three of us at least do the things that we do because we love doing the things that we do, right? But sometimes it is nice to be able to, as much as I hate it, to get kind of the recognition for the things that are coming out of our head. You know what I mean? Even though I know we do it for none of that. You know what I mean? Like, I'd go out and take pictures for no reason. But do you guys feel the same way about that?
No, I think it is a struggle for all creatives to take their work seriously so that other people can take it seriously and really treat it, you know, like a job, and having other people treat their work like work, because it is work. You know, nobody really chooses to sit at a computer for several hours, you know, out of, you know, the love of sitting at a computer at Photoshop. You know, it's you're working at something, you're mining for something, you know.
Yeah. Nope, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like, this project I'm doing is free for people to participate in. It doesn't cost anything but your time. And I give you your images, and like, it is a lot of work, so like, it is humbling to be recognized for it. But I think, you know, I chatted with Joel the other day, and I was just like, oh, I just want you to be recognized because I just think you're so great. And you're just like, well, I'm not quite there yet. And I'm like over here, like, as a friend, I'm like, yeah, you are. And that's what's kind of cool about creatives, is like, we see that in other people, and it's, you know, I know all three of us want to create that environment for photographers and creatives to like cheer each other on, even if we're not getting media exposure. Like, I want you to feel seen because what you're doing is amazing. Like, Ray's stuff right now is pretty dope. Like, you just posted that portrait yesterday.
Thank you.
And I was like, with the candle, I was like, I'm really into this. Like, this is totally my vibe. It's kind of creepy and spooky, but mysterious, and the colors were awesome. And I think that's important. Like, we're supporting one another regardless of what's happening around us. And at the end of the day, like, that's actually the recognition that matters to me, is like, is my peer group standing behind me? Am I standing with them? Oh yeah, you can kind of see it. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, you know, we want that for other people. We want to see people succeed. This isn't a competition. You know, we're all in the same field in terms of like photography, but we all have our own niches and talents, and I think everybody deserves to have their moment to be recognized for their work. So you guys are dope.
I agree.
Thanks.
Thank you. Right back at you. I love what you said about creating that environment, because I think that's probably what the point of doing this podcast is. And kind of getting together to do this is to help promote that, to help people, you know, look at their work as, you know, for what it is, as work, and something that it's okay to take seriously, and to expect others to take seriously, and to give each other recognition. I think is a pretty cool goal, you know. To sort of be the inspiration that you know, you hope for to other people, right?
I agree.
But let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap
We've
it up.
got some amazing things coming your guys' way in terms of content. Ray, do you want to tell us what we're going to be chatting about next week? Or Joel? Whoever.
Well, I think we'll talk about photography. That's what we'll
Good
talk
answer.
about. I guarantee you that. No, I think we can go into a little bit of a weightier subject related to creative work. We can think of ways to apply it specifically to photography. I ran into an article of advice by some anonymous gentleman reaching the age of 68 on his birthday, wanted to give advice to younger people, and it's 68 different pieces of advice. Probably not all of it, but I think a good chunk of it is really relevant to creative work, and I think we could have a lot of fun talking about that, and maybe some other stuff about what we are currently working on during this quarantine period.
Yeah, our creative spaces, potentially
Absolutely.
a challenge for our new users to try on their own while they're at home.
Bro, I love a challenge. I'm super competitive, guys, so be ready. And I think on top of those two subjects too, just kind of talking about, now that we are for Washington State, our stay-at-home order has been extended through May 31st, right? So kind of talking about how we just show up, right, to life when we're not really feeling motivated, especially as creatives, because I think that we, this is me talking, being biased as a creator. I think that we show up differently in the world day to day. Like our mind works a little bit different than the average person.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think let's talk about how we just show up,
Exactly. Yeah. I think to produce creative work of any kind, consistently, you really have to be a big believer in just showing up.
Yeah.
But that can mean a lot of different things, and it's not
to different people
directly creating work, taking photographs or dealing with photographs. So I think it could be fun to talk about what that means for each of us. So
I agree.
Right, maybe in the next one. Looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to the next one too, guys. This was a great first episode. You guys did amazing.
So did you. It wasn't as awkward.
It wasn't as awkward as we thought it was going to be, guys. We did this. Yeah, we did it. There's still time. We haven't stopped recording yet.
All right.
Yeah, guys. Good
Go
job.
Team.
Go
This
team.
was episode 1 of What's in Your Frame.
The podcast.
We'll see you next time,
The
everyone.
podcast.
The podcast for photographers and creators in Eastern Washington. Oh, man.
Take care. We'll see you next
guys.
time.
See you guys next time.
Bye.